Have you ever witnessed a father throw his 7-year-old daughter from an 11-story building? A father was compelled to do so as a result of the city's ongoing riots. The entire city is plotting to hunt and kill him and his family. When you watch the film over and over again, you will feel as if the family is about to die a horrible death. But the father saves them each time like a superhero. In any difficult situation in life, he fights hard to save his family. Will the father ultimately be able to protect his family? I was talking about the action thriller movie No Escape, released in 2015. The movie has an IMDb rating 6.8 out of 10 and it is 86% liked by Google users and 48% fresh on Rotten Tomato. The horror of rebellion, the sense of responsibility towards the family, and the love of the parents towards the children all come together in this movie. So let's start the explanation of the movie No Escape with Purple Explanation. So the story starts from one of the countries in Southeast Asia. Here we see the house of the president of the country, where an American company was dealing with the president, and the name of this company is Cardiff. The company usually deals with water purification. Soon a deal with the president is finalized. Security then escorted the man from American company to the car, and when he left, security heard gunshots from inside and he ran to the president. But because the front door was closed, he entered through the back door. When he arrives, he finds that the president has been assassinated by security forces who were trying to seize power by assassinating the president. Security then cut his own throat with a knife because he did not want to be caught by the rebels and did not want to give them any information. On the other hand, we see a man named Jack who was a civil engineer. He recently joined Cardiff. Just 17 hours before the assassination of the president, he left for this country with his family. Jack loved his family very much. His wife's name was Annie, his eldest daughter's name was Lucy, and his youngest daughter's name was Beach. On the plane, they were introduced to a man named Hammond. They have arrived in this country after a long journey, but no one came to pick them up at the airport. So Hammond tells them, "Wherever you go, you can come with me if you want." Jack then agrees with Hammond. Hammond then calls a taxi driver named Rogers and takes Jack's family to a hotel. The name of this hotel was Imperial Lotus. In fact, when people from America come to visit this country, almost all of them stay in this hotel, and then Jack sees a picture of him and some of his company colleagues in the banner of the hotel. Jack is a little surprised to see this banner. Then he goes to the hotel room with his family. Going there, Jack sees that the TV, internet, and telephone connection are not working in the room. Then he came downstairs to the reception and complained. The person at the reception, "I don't know anything about it, so I can't give you any information." Disappointed, Jack goes back to his room. The next morning he comes to the reception again and asks if there is any call or message from Cardiff Company in my name. Jack then goes out to buy a newspaper, but he finds that the newspapers are almost 3 days old, meaning that no newspaper has come out in these 3 days. Much to Jack's surprise, suddenly he sees hundreds of police approaching from one side of the road and rebel people approaching the police from the other side. Soon there was a clash between the two groups. Jack somehow escapes and runs to his hotel. On his way back to the hotel, Jack sees many bodies lying on the street. Within a short time, Jack reached the front of their hotel, and here the rebels have taken an American man out of the hotel and shot him dead. Jack was terrified to see this scene, and his family was all American, so he was trying to get to the hotel room from the other side without going through the front door. Just then, a group of rebellious people spotted Jack, who somehow managed to save his family and fled to a hotel room, and he tells his wife Annie that riots have broken out in the country, with rebels killing Americans. "We have to escape from this country anyway." Annie then tells Jack that their eldest daughter Lucy is in the hotel swimming pool. Jack then tells Annie, "I'm bringing Lucy. You will not go anywhere from here and will not open door until you listen the sound of my voice." Jack then goes to the swimming pool to fetch his daughter. They start to go to the hotel room, but suddenly a rebel sees them. He starts chasing them. Jack somehow enters the room with his daughter and closes the door of their room. Jack tells his wife, "We have to get out of here at any cost. Annie goes after her children with a lot of worries and she starts crying in fear. Then Jack comes with his family to the roof of the hotel. There are other Americans in the hotel. Jack then looks down from the roof of the hotel and sees hundreds of rebels shouting blood for water. A local staff member also was on the roof of the hotel. Jack asked him why there was so much commotion in the country. At that time, he said that an American company wanted to take over the entire tender of water supply of this country. But the people of this country could not accept it, and this issue has caused riots in this country. Jack then learns here that the name of the American company is Cardiff, where he has just joined. They will be here by helicopter and rescue us soon. Just then they heard the sound of the helicopter in the distance and smiled because they thought they would be able to return safely to their country. When the helicopter got too close to them, they realized that the helicopter did not come to rescue them, but it was rebels' helicopter. The rebels then started firing at them from the helicopter, killing many people there, and the helicopter lost control and crashed on the roof of the hotel. On the other hand, it is seen that many rebels have come here from the below to kill them. Jack survives by hiding there with his family, and there the rebels went down again without finding anyone. Jack understands here that in order to survive, they have to move from this building. Jack says, Annie, you have to jump on the roof of the building next door anywhere, or the rebels will come and kill us. But Annie was so scared she didn't want to jump into the building at all. Then Jack says, you have to jump to save our kids. On hearing this, Annie jumps out of the way and somehow reaches the roof next door, but is hit on her leg. Jack then goes to throw his little girl to Annie in the next building, but Beach is too scared, and this task is not at all easy for a father. Unable to find a way, Jack throws his youngest daughter into the building next door. Somehow her youngest daughter reached out to Annie, but his elder daughter Lucy doesn't want to go there anyhow. Frightened, she started running from side to side. Meanwhile, the rebels have seen them and are approaching them to kill them. But Jack couldn't throw his eldest daughter at all. As a result, Lucy was about to fall from the roof, but Jack grabs his daughter. He then tied Lucy with his belt so that Lucy could not move her arms and legs, and this time he threw Lucy in the next building and somehow Lucy reached her mother. Meanwhile, the rebels were coming to them. At the last moment, Jack jumped into the building and left. Jack and his family were not safe after moving there, because a rebel from the next building sees him and shows Jack the banner at the hotel, where there were pictures of Jack with people from the Cardiff Company. It means that the rebels have understood that Jack is the man of Cardiff Company, and Jack learns here that the rebels will not let go easily. On the other hand, Jack looks at the street and sees a huge tank of rebels approaching. That means they all know about Jack and they brought the tank to demolish the building in which Jack and his family was hiding. The rebels fired shots from the tanks, destroying most of the building, and then they all entered the building searching for Jack and his family. But his family struggled to find a place to hide. As a result, the rebels left without finding them. Then Jack tells his wife that we survived this time. Now we just have to somehow get to the American embassy. Jack then uses Google Maps to see the American embassy is in a short distance away from there. Jack then looks down the street and sees that the rebels crash and kill a few Americans by truck. Suddenly a rebel sees Jack and his family, and the rebel starts calling the rest of the rebels. Jack presses the face of the rebel and kills him. Jack then removes the handkerchief from the rebel's mouth and wraps the handkerchief around his face and walks out with his family in disguise so that no one can recognize him. Jack finds a bike on the street after much searching, and he and his family went to the embassy with great difficulty. They escaped in front of the embassy, evading the eyes of the rebels. When they arrived, they found the rebels setting fire to the embassy. Jack entered the embassy and saw that the rebels had killed everyone there. Suddenly, a rebellion seized Jack. With great difficulty, he took his whole family into an alley. They then took refuge in a house there. Meanwhile, the rebels came to the front of the house looking for Jack. They started torturing an old man in that house, and they want to know about Jack from this old man. At one point, the rebel sees Jack and his family. The rebel leader then attacks Jack's wife. At that moment, the rest of the rebels captured Hammond, who drove Jack and his family to the hotel. Behind Hammond was a man wearing a black mask, and this person was that taxi driver named Roger. Hammond brought Roger here in disguise so that they can rescue Jack and his his family. The two then opened fire on the rebels, who fled in fear. When the situation calmed down, Hammond and Roger fed Jack and his family, and then he told them a route in Vietnam to save Jack and his family so that Jack could reach their country very quickly. He added that the Vietnam border is only 2 kilometers from here, and you have to go there by boat. Jack says we will be safe once we cross the border. Then Hammond says we will be out in 4 more hours, so go to sleep now because you need to rest. Then they all started to rest. After a while the rebels attacked, and there are a number of rebel shootings with Roger. At one stage Roger was shot dead. Hammond was also shot in the body, but he tried to save Jack's family with his life. He came down to the road and saw a truck approaching them. Hammond sat in the middle of the road and started firing at them. But Hammond had an accident with the truck and died there. Jack and his family then set out for the Vietnam border, but Jack lost his confidence here because he did not know the way to the border. But he thought about his children and told that we have to reach the border anyway. Then they start walking again, and after a while they reached the bank of the river. Jack realizes that this is the river that Hammond told him about. Jack then searches for a boat and finds the boatman. He shows the boatman a watch in his hand and says that the watch is made of gold. Then the boatman says, I want to take your shoes with the watch. Jack immediately put his shoes and the watch to the boatman's hand. By the time the rebels arrive, they have captured Jack and his family. At one point, Jack is shot in the shoulder. One of the rebels holds a gun in Jack's daughter's hand and tells her to shoot her father, otherwise he will kill her. Just then, Annie hit the rebel on the head with a stick from behind. Jack, on the other hand, took the gun from his daughter and shot dead the rebels. Jack and his family boarded the boat and set off for Vietnam border. As they approached the border, the Vietnamese soldiers turned on the lights just as they were talking. Just as they were about to shoot, Jack stood on the boat and asked the soldiers for help. Meanwhile, the rebels came to the bank of the river to kill them. And just as they were about to shoot at Jack and his family, Jack's boat ran into the Vietnam's border. The Vietnamese army then fired at the rebels, saying that they had now entered our borders and that if they were to shoot, we would be forced to shoot you. After listening, these rebels can't kill Jack and his family. They were then rescued by Vietnamese soldiers. In the next scene, we see Jack arrive safely at his home with his family. It is as if they have regained their new life, and this is where the No Escape movie ends. This was the story of No Escapes. Friends, I hope you liked the plot of this movie very much. Please don't forget to leave your comments. Click on the subscribe button to get more explanations like this. And last but not least, thank you.